Shalom, shalom. Yeah, this is your brother, Evan Israel again. Try to get some little air in here. Hopefully it ain't too loud. I got a truck beside me. Usually don't have trucks beside me, but today it is what it is. But today, first of all, I like to say that usually I don't block people. The only way I'll block you if you're really disrespectful or you're coming with that nonsense over and over again on my posts. I can't deal with it. Shalom, babe. How you doing, sweetie? Looking beautiful. I see you. That's my wife, y'all. Don't nobody say nothing to her unless y'all talking about some scriptures. Yes, I do, babe. But I'm finna go over the latter days right now because I think this is one of the problems that we're having in our community. We don't actually know when the latter days are. So we're going to use the Bible and let the Bible explain when the latter days are. So, that being said, let me try to hurry up and dive into it before they are done loading my truck. The first place I'll start, which is one of my second favorite book, will be Daniel. Recap. Daniel had a dream, right? Not like Martin Luther King, because Daniel's dream was actually way better and more beneficial to Israel. But anyway, he had a dream of 4 beasts, right? The first beast was like a lion. That was Babylon. The second beast, like a bear with 3 ribs in his mouth and raised itself up. That was Medo-Persia. And he saw another beast, which was the third beast, a leopard, had 4 wings and 4 heads. That was Greece. And the last one he saw was exceedingly dreadful and terrible, which was Rome. For some reason now, people try to, in order to try to defeat that Christ couldn't have returned 70 AD, now they're trying to say that this is not Rome, this is another place. And I guess Daniel didn't have a vision of Rome at all, even though Rome was when over 1 million Jews was killed and 97,000 taken into captivity. So I don't know why the Most High wouldn't show Daniel that prophecy. But anyway, I'm going to say this is Rome. So we see that the 4th beast is Rome. And during Rome's rulership, we have this change in rulership. We got the horns coming up. This is all during Rome's rulership. And what occurs after that? The Ancient of Days sit on the throne. Fire came from his wheels. The angels ministered to him. And the books were opened and the judgment was set. That was Judgment Day. So the latter days of the Bible, the end of the age, the latter days cannot go past Rome rulership. Look, this is America, okay? Rome does not control none of this right now. This is America. Okay, Rome can't come over here and make us have a world tax like he was able to do in the Bible days. Rome cannot make everybody bow down to one ruler like they was able to do in the Bible days. We are no longer in Rome. Brother, I already told you Isaiah 14:1 and 2 was talking about Babylon. No, I can't show you in the Bible specifically what it was talking about Babylon, but it was talking about Babylon. Okay. Well, I can show you what it's talking about Babylon. I can't show you where that prophecy was fulfilled because, first of all, obviously the Bible did not care enough to include it, so I don't care enough to try to find it. But now, back to the timeline. We got the 4th beast, which is Rome. So the timeline of the latter days of the Bible does not go past the 4th beast. So, let's look at the latter days in the scripture. So what I'm saying is when the Bible talked about the time of the end and the latter days, when things came to an end, when it was time for judgment, all of that stuff, it deals with Rome. It does not deal with the end of the world. It only deals with the end of the age. So let's find some things dealing with the end of the age. What everybody loves to go to, Deuteronomy 28. The blessings and the curses that dealt with the end of Israel, or dealt with Israel And some of this stuff is going to deal with the end of the age. And let's see what I'm talking about. This Deuteronomy 30, 31, and I'm going to trust on 31 and 32, or the end of 31. And let's read what it says. This is when Moses was getting ready to die. Gather me unto all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak with these in their ears, and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days, because you will do evil things in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. And Moses spake in the ears of all the congregation of Israel the words of this song until they were ended. So now, the song of Moses is going to be sung, but what is Moses talking about? The things that was going to happen to Israel in the latter days, in the end of days, the time of the end, according to the Bible. Not you, not me, not us, not them, not they, not scholars, but what the Bible considers the latter days. So let's go through some of these things that were supposed to occur in the latter days of the Bible. Verse 3, because I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He is the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Okay, so now, where have we heard that at? I know y'all are already seeing my commentary that I have already added. Acts 2 and 40. Remember, these are the things that was going to befall Israel on the latter days. Acts 2 and 40. Guess when Acts 2 and 40 was? It happened to be during the Roman Empire, during the fourth beast. So let's see what happens if we can make some correlation. Because the disciples, they knew these scriptures. They knew them. So that's why they was able to pull from the Torah in order to explain to the surrounding people what time it was. So now, Acts 2 and 40. And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, save yourself from this untoward generation. Untoward is the same thing as away from, which will be crooked. So we got what? I don't know. Is this Philippians 12:15? If y'all are not convinced, let's see if I can pull something else. Philippians 12 and 15. Hold on, give me 1 second. I think it's 12 and 15. We're going to see. I can't read my writing sometimes. So, let's see. Oh, so it's 2. I think it's 2 and 15. Oh, yeah, here it go right here. Do all things without murmurings and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, and sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. So we have the correlation. We got Paul pulling from the Torah, because remember, Paul knew the Torah, showing them that their generation was the generation spoken of in that latter days. But you still might not be convinced. we can go to verse 20, right? And let's see what it says in verse 20. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, children in whom there is no faith. And remember in Acts 2:40, they called them an untoward generation. It's the same thing as froward. So this was going to be the end. Let's go to 29. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood that they would consider their latter ends. So all of this is at the end of the so-called time dealing with Israel. But let's read verse 35. To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. So now, the Most High said he was going to have vengeance come upon them, upon Israel, during the latter days, during the end of time. So let's go to the fourth beast, which is Luke. And Luke 21 and 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So, we have a promise that the Most High in the latter days, he was going to bring vengeance upon Israel. Then we have in Luke, during the Roman Empire, which is the latter days, when he promised them that during the destruction of the temple is when he's bringing that vengeance. Okay, so that's another correlation to show that the latter days in the scriptures was actually during the Roman Empire. Not 2019, not us in America, not China, none of that stuff. The latter days were stopped at the fourth beast or the Roman empires according to the Bible. The Bible will not take you past 70 AD unless it is dealing with the everlasting kingdom. So now, shalom, shalom, Miss Jasmine, shalom. So now, let's keep going. We got Deuteronomy 32 and 43. Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto the land, which is Jerusalem, and to his people, which is Israel. So now, once again, now he's avenging the blood of his servants. Now, where can we find that at? We find that in Revelation 6, right? Revelation 6 and 11. Yep, 11. Well, I'm going to start at 10 and 11. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, and unto their fellow servants also, and their brethren that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. So now, we see that in Deuteronomy 32, he was talking about avenging them, the saints, during the latter days. Now we're in Revelation, which we all know happens during the latter days, about them asking about that same vengeance, or them being avenged. Now let's see when it happened. Is it Luke 18 and 8? Hold on. Before that, let's go to Matthew. Before that, let's go to Matthew 23. Matthew 23 and 34. And first, I want to set the mood. He's talking to, verse 25, scribes and Pharisees. So let's see what he say. 34. Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify, and some of them you shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all of the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel and to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that killest the prophets and stonest them, which are unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. So this is Christ prophesying against the scribes and Pharisees that the vengeance will of all righteous bloodshed from Abel all the way into Zechariah, son of Berechias, will come upon that generation during the fourth beast reign, Rome. Once again, that's their vengeance. You remember in Revelations, they said, how long before you avenge our blood? Well, this is Christ prophesying that vengeance will occur during that time period in the first century during the Roman rulership. So once again, the end days spoken of the Bible is during Rome rulership. It has nothing to do with our times. So now I want to go also to Luke 18, 7 and 8. And shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? Remember, we just read in Revelation when they was crying, how long, Father, before you avenge our blood? Right here. And shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, which he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. That's quickly, y'all. 2,000 years is not speedily. This is during the Roman Empire. This is during the fourth beast. This is during when the Bible ends, or the end of times, the end of the age. This is when that is. He said, and I tell you, he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, he shall he find faith on the earth? So we have a promise right there that the avenging, the avenge of the bloods of the saints was going to occur during the fourth beast. Now let's see if we can find anything else that's occurring during the fourth beast. Let's see, do I have anything else? Well, for some reason I have Hebrews 10 and 30 here. So let's see what Hebrews 10 and 30 says. I usually don't throw in this random scripture, so let's just see what it says. Hebrews 10 and 30. And like I said, I do my own commentary. My own reference. That's right. Yes, sir, Matthew. He said that generation and not our generation today. He didn't say a future generation. He didn't say many generations. He said this generation. Yes, sir. So Hebrews 10 and 30 says, okay. For we know him, that he has says, vengeance belongeth to me. I will recompense, says the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. So we have Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews, pulling directly from Deuteronomy 32 and 35. But let's see what else he say. 37. For yet a little while, and he that shall come. For yet a little while, and he that shall come, and will not tarry. So once again, we have in Hebrews a promise that Christ's second return was a little while, and he will not tarry. Yes, this is the King James Version. Yes, ma'am. Holy Bible, the King James Version Bible. Yes, ma'am, indeed. So we have it right there that Christ, it was promised that Christ was going to return quickly. He was not going to tarry. So if y'all saying Christ is still supposed to come now, this is about 2,000 years. If that is not a tarry, I don't know what is. So once again, this is the latter days. During the Roman Empire is the latter days that the Bible speaks of. It's not during our time. You're not going to be able to get our time out of the Bible. The Bible ended in 70 AD, except the everlasting kingdom, which is still on earth today, present. We just got to get it. We telling people that it's coming in the future, and it's been here. Nah, brother, I'm using the old King James version, but the new King James version is still good. I can use that also. So now, I want to pull something else too. I want to pull from Isaiah. Look, so much stuff here. Isaiah, what, 24, and I want to start at 1. Once again, remember, I'm saying that the end days is doing. It got quiet when that truck left. Once again, I'm saying the end days is during the Roman Empire, or the whole New Testament. The whole New Testament is the latter days that the Bible speaks of, not 2019. The New Testament is the latter days that the Bible speaks of. The end of time is the New Testament. It's not 2019. The end of times in the Bible is the New Testament. If you have not been taught that, then you are being taught wrong. You are being deceived. So now, Isaiah 24. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattered abroad the inhabitants thereof. So now, this is the end time. When were they scattered abroad? When were the inhabitants? Because we know that word earth right there is actually supposed to be land. See, and I even got land right there to show. But behold, the Lord maketh the land empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattered abroad the inhabitants thereof. Let me show you when that happened. That happened in the old trusty. We can find it in Luke. And Luke 21 says, Luke 21:24 says, and I can read 23 and 24. But woe to them that are with child. Hold on, sorry, y'all. I only got 2 hands. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. That's what we just read in Isaiah 41 in different words. Isaiah 41, Hebrew. Luke, Greek. So they were just written in, they had different ways of conveying sentences, but they're saying the same exact point. So now, behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty. So y'all know there's got to be, the land empty. Y'all know there's got to be the end of times. How many times was it prophesied that the land was supposed to be emptied out? Making it waste, and turn it upside down, and scattered abroad the inhabitants thereof. I just showed you when that was prophesied to occur during the destruction of the temple, during the 1st century, is when Rome ruled. Okay. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priests. Okay. So who had priests? We know that the Levites was in Rome, in the temple, doing the temple worship, doing the temple services, during 1st century. During the Roman Empire, as with the servant, so with his masters, as with the maid, so with his mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the leader, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. All of this stuff was going on inside of the temple. Remember, Christ had to go in there and cleanse it out, because they was doing all that money exchanging and doing all that stuff. All right. The land shall be utterly empty. Once again, I just showed y'all up there that this word earth is supposed to be land, and that just proved it right there. The land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled, for the Lord has spoken this word. The earth, remember, it's supposed to be land, mourneth. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languishes and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Let's go to Zechariah 12 and 2. Let's see what's going on in Zechariah 12 and 2. Oh, sorry, I got 12 and 12. But I'm going to read Zechariah 12 and 2 for you anyway. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about it, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Once again, that's 70 AD during the Roman Empire. But let's go down to verse 12. Well, I guess I can start at 10 and go to 12. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him, as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one is in bitterness for his firstborn. Now, why are these people mourning? Why aren't they happy? First of all, the house of David. So this would be pretty much Judah, the Jews. So once again, this is first century, 70 AD, during when the beast reigned. But anyway, why are they sad to see him? Because they just killed him, and they understand now that this is judgment. He was the Messiah. They actually killed the Messiah, and now judgment is coming. And all of those prophecies were going to be of all those prophecies about vengeance and then the saints having to be avenged was coming on their heads, just like Christ prophesied. So they would be mourning because they know now that they have eternal separation from the Father. But look, and that day shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, and in the mourning of Hadadrimmon, or whatever it says, Hadadrimmon, whatever, in the valley of Megadon. And the land shall mourn, every apart, the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart. So now, we see in the mourning in the land. So, where do we get that at? Oh, right there. The earth mourneth and faded away. The earth is mourning, or the land is mourning and fading away, because the Roman Empire is coming in there, destroying them to bits. They are doing the thing. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. I got a wasp. So, let me get this wasp out of here, because I can't be getting stung today. Let me close that up. Can't be getting stung today. No, sir. So, let me cut this truck on and get some air. Alright, so now, let's keep going. Verse 5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. So, we see why destruction is occurring now. Because they had did all of the things they weren't supposed to do. They transgressed the laws, they changed the ordinances, and they broke the covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the land, and they that dwell thereon are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and a few men left. Why? Hold on, let me see if I can find that. When it says that they are burned, and a few men left. Let's see if I can find it real fast. So we see that the Jerusalem is being burnt down because they had transgressed the law. So let me try to make another connection in Revelation. Let me see. Revelation 18, and I'm gonna start at 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cut which she hath filled to her double. This is the vengeance. These saints are getting avenged right here. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. See, they're saying torment her, give her sorrow. You remember the land was going to mourn. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judged her. She's going to be burnt with fire. We have it right here. Therefore hath the curse devoured the land, and they that dwell therein are desolate. I'm pretty sure she's desolate right now. Therefore the inhabitants of the land are burned, and few men are left. They are burning her with fire. This whore, the mystery Babylon, in Revelation 18 is not America. It was Jerusalem. We see it right here. The correlations, man, we can't get around it. But now, I want to also listen, because once again, remember, this is what's going to be coming on the land for them not doing the covenant, breaking the covenant. So now, verse 7, the new wine mourneth, the vine languishes, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets cease, the noise that they rejoice ended, the joy of the harp ceased. Revelations 18:22. Revelation 18:22 says, and the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be no more heard all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. I hope y'all are seeing that this is, first of all, Revelation was about the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The latter times was about the time of Rome ruling, when the temple got destroyed. So the whole New Testament is during the fourth beast, which is considered the latter days, or the time of the end, or the end of the age in the Bible. So now, let's keep reading. In the city is left desolation. The gate is smitten with destruction. Matthew 23:38. Matthew 23:38. Matthew 23:38. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. Who was he talking about? Verse 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that killest the prophets. What are we talking about right now? Jerusalem. What's going on? It's being burnt. It's being destroyed. They're mourning, and the city is destroyed. It's left in destruction. So now, let's keep talking about what also happens during the end of the time. We are in Isaiah 24 right now. So now let's go to 25. Lord, O Lord, thou art my God. I will exalt thee. I will praise thy name, for thou hast done the wonderful things. Thy counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. Let's go down. Verse 5. Thou shalt bring down the noise of the strangers as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud. The branch of the terrible one shall be brought low, and the mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines of lees well refined. So this is the mountain. Shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people. So what mountain would it be talking about? Well, I got New Jerusalem right there to show you. And this will be the same New Jerusalem that came out of heaven dealing with the wedding feast. So the New Jerusalem came out of heaven as the bride during the wedding feast. Let's see if we can find that. Is that Revelation 19 maybe? No. What was that? Right here, Revelation 21 and 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So, she was coming down, pretty much getting ready for this feast. So now, where else can I find that feast? That mountain. Because I said that mountain is Jerusalem. I just try to show you in Revelation that it's speaking on the same time but we can also find it in the Tanakh. We go to Daniel, I think it's chapter 2. Yep, right here. 2 and let's see. I don't even know what that says. But, and in the days of these kings shall God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Yeah, let's go to verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, and the silver, and the gold. The great God had made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So, that stone, in fact, let me see here. I want to get more like this. Oh, look, though. Look. Right here. Just in case we forgot, Daniel 28. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, that maketh known the king Nebuchadnezzar, which shall be in the latter days. Which should be in the latter days. Once again, remember the latter days is actually during the Roman Empire. That's why the image don't go past the Roman Empire. But this is what I'm trying to get right here. Verse 35. Then the iron and the clay and the brass and the silver and the gold broke into pieces together and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. That mountain is the New Jerusalem, which is this same mountain right here that has the Lord of hosts preparing the feast of those who was destroyed. Now, let's keep going on. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all the people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. You remember when it said in the New Testament, once they read Moses, they have a veil over their face? Well, now, all of the veils, all of the unknowing, all of the disbelief, not understanding Scripture, all of that is being destroyed by the Most High through the gospel. This is what we're doing right now. This is what I'm doing. This is what my brother's doing. Brother William Bell, we got Matthew, we got Kenneth, we got Ben. We're destroying this veil. We got brother John, brother Howard, Marcellius, all of us. We're trying to destroy that veil. But let's see what else has happened. Verse 8. He will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord God will wipe away all tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall be taken from off all the earth. The Lord has spoken it. So now we have death being swallowed up, right? So let's go to 1 Corinthians 15:54. Remember, this is happening at the end. When the mountain is made. How's the mountain made? Without hands. What does the mountain do? It destroys all of the kingdoms, put them in pieces, and it raises up, and it covers the whole earth. That's symbolism, symbolic for the gospel being spread to the whole earth. I can show you that in just a minute. But Matthew 15:54. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. For when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought up to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? When is death swallowed up? When is death being destroyed? Right here in Revelation, was it 21 and, no, not 21. 19, 20, and Right here, 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged, everyone according to their works. So now, we have death and hell being offered up. But when was death and hell thrown into the lake of fire doing judgment? Well, you go back to Daniel. Because we got the books open, them judged, which is the second death, and death and hell being thrown into the lake of fire. So then you go back to Daniel to see exactly when that occurred. And it occurred, Daniel 7, it occurred doing, we got the fourth beast right there, Daniel 7:7. And after this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake into pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. Right? So that's the Roman Empire. Verse 9. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheel as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. And the judgment was set, and the books were open. We have the judgment set, the books were open, death and hell being thrown into the lake of fire during when? The Roman Empire. During the fourth beast, this is when that occurred. So once again, I'm just making the correlation. Everything occurred in the Bible during Rome, during the fourth beast. Rome is not a rulership no more, y'all. Death has been swallowed up. The corruption has put on incorruptible. That's the resurrection. That has occurred. Judgment has been set. The books have been opened. All of that has occurred now. We are in the new covenant, living life lavishly. We're supposed to be. And let's see what else should happen. Let's see. Let's see if I can keep going on. See, in that day shall this song be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city, salvation will God appoint for walls and bulwarks. We see that the walls in Revelation it's built upon the foundation of the 12 disciples, and those gates are built upon the 12 tribes of Israel. And we have them singing the new song in Revelation, and we have the new song, well, we have the song being sung here also. So now, let's see. Isaiah 26 and skipping around. 19, the dead men shall live together with my dead body, shall they arise, awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust. For the dew is at the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. When does this happen? In Revelation, during the 1,000-year reign with Christ. This is the resurrection. So where else do we see? We see they coming out of dust right there, right? You go to Daniel 12. And Daniel 12 and 1. Daniel 12 and 1. And at that time Michael shall stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as there was not since the beginning, since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that is found written in the books. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting content. Look, verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Where is the time of the end? That's the fourth beast. That is Rome. So where can I go to find the time of the end? If I find anything dealing with the time of the end, I know the time of the end is Rome. Where do I got to go? The New Testament. So now let's see if I can find any of this in the New Testament. Well, I have a clue. There shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. So I need to find something similar to that written in the Hebrew or the New Testament. And I go to Matthew 24 and I start at 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out the house. This is during the signs of the destruction of the temple. Now, and then we go to verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor shall there ever will be. So, that reflects what Daniel 12 and 1 said. Daniel 12 and 1. The children, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. This is the tribulation period, or Jacob's trouble. That happens at the time of the end. What happens? The resurrection happens. Where else can we find the resurrection? Can we find a resurrection in that same Matthew passage? Can we find that same resurrection in that same Matthew passage? Let's see. Matthew 24. How about 24 and 31? And he shall then send his angel with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So they gather together all elect. That will be in the Sheol realm also. So that occurs during the destruction of the temple, which is during Rome, the fourth beast, which is the time of the end, or the end of the age. So now, I'm going to keep going. That's a little bit longer. Then I'm going to cut it off because I'm pretty sure y'all are getting it. Hey, what happened to everybody? All of my sisters and brothers left. I guess they didn't want to hear what I was saying, huh? It's all good until we realize that some of us has been hoaxed into believing that the Bible is teaching something that it don't teach. And y'all been paying these people these this tithes and all this offering and going to these feast days and doing all this stuff for no reason, because they don't understand the Bible. The light is not in them just yet, but we're trying to get it there. But anyway, Isaiah 27, and I'm gonna start at 20. Well, I'm gonna start at 21, and I go down to 27. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. So the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants. Let's see when he comes out of his place to punish the inhabitants. Let's see when that happens. So we got Matthew 16, 27 and 28. For the Son of Man shall come in glory with the for the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. So that would be equivalent to the Lord coming out of his place to punish the inhabitants. Verily I say unto you, the disciples, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Once again, we have another statement proving that the time of the end, which this is judgment, the time of the end, Christ's second coming, was going to occur during the first century, during the Roman Empire. The Bible teaches that the latter days, the end of time, the end of age, was during the fourth beast, or the Roman Empire. So we have a statement right there. Christ saying that some of his disciples will still be alive when he come in his kingdom. And then once you go on later on to Matthew 24, you have immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and then you have the tribulation of those days was the destruction of the temple. And then you go to verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all tribes of the earth shall mourn. We read that in Isaiah, and what was that? Isaiah, Zechariah, and Revelation. Then all the then appears the Son of, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. That's the essence of Christ coming in judgment. Verse 32. Verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So Christ just told them in his prophecy that their generation, the first century generation, the generation that lived during the Roman Empire, the generation that lived during the end, the latter end, according to the Bible, will not pass away until his second return would occur. So, we got another proof right there. So now, verse 27. Oh, sorry, let me finish. I already did that. Now, Isaiah 27:1. And that day, hold on now. And that day, the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan Leviathan the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Now, where can we find that at? First of all, the sword that come out of Christ's mouth is the word of God, right? Or it's the gospel. So we know that this. I don't know if I can find that in Revelation. I'm not quite sure that somebody can hit me up with that if they know. The sword that proceeded from his mouth was the gospel. I know it's in here somewhere. I had to go through it real fast. All y'all can point me through it. Where's it at? Where's it at? Right here. Hold on. And the mouth. Well, I can see it right here, but it don't say it's the gospel. And now his mouth go a short sword. With it shall smite the nations and shall rule them with the rod of iron. And he treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty King. This is when him judging and making war. I don't have right now that sword coming out of his mouth was the word, but it was the gospel. We have to find that later. But the point was, and in that day, the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword, which is the gospel, shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, the crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. So it's letting you know that the Leviathan, if y'all know anything about Greek history or Greek mythology, the Leviathan was one of the beasts that ruled the sea. I don't know if it's outside of Greek mythology, but I know it's in Greek mythology. So let's see if we can find that dragon that rules the sea. Let's see here. Revelation. Pure woman in heaven. All right, we have right here. We have Revelation 12:1-3, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So we have a dragon right there, and we have a dragon right here. And this dragon here was going to get pierced or get slayed or get punished by the word or by the gospel. So that John the Revelator saw it one way, Isaiah saw it another way. But anyway, let's see if I can, is there anything else? verse 9. By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged. I'm starting at 7. He has smitten him, and he has smote those that smote him, or is he slain according to the slaughter of them that are slain by him? In measure, when it shooteth forth, thou wouldst debate with it. He stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this is all of the fruit that take away his sin, when he maketh all of the stones of the altar as chalk stones, that are beaten and sundered. The groves and images shall not stand up. Let me read it again. By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this is all the fruit to take away his sin. See, all of the things that was happening is the fruit that takes away his sin. But let me tell you what else takes away the sin of Jacob. Once again, let's see what else takes away the sin of Jacob. When he maketh all the stones of the altar as chalk stones, that are beaten and sunder, the groves and images shall not stand. Where can we find that at? And remember, this is during the latter end. Where can we find that at? During the latter end, or during the Roman Empire, or during the New Testament, or during the Grecian language? You go to Matthew 24, or I ain't pulling nothing from Mark yet. I go to Mark 13. Mark 13:1, and he said, and as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answered said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. That's the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. And to get rid of the sin of Jacob, that temple had to be destroyed. That whole Mosaic covenant had to be destroyed. That was the point behind 70 AD. Destroy the old covenant, destroy the temple, get rid of the old covenant so the new covenant can reign supreme over the earth with the kingdom. And we have people today still trying to teach that we got to be under the covenant of Moses, when the Most High made sure that we couldn't be under that covenant again. But anyway, by this therefore shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this is all of the fruit to take away his sin, when he maketh all the stones of the altar as chalk stones, that are beaten and sundered. The groves and the images shall not stand. The temple was destroyed, yet the defenced city shall be desolate, and the habitation forsaken, and left like a wilderness. There shall the calf feed, and there shall he lie down, and consume the branches thereof. And I got Daniel 9:24 right there. Let's see what Daniel 9:24 says. Daniel 9:24. Man, this is getting good. Daniel 9:24. Oh, okay. This is 70 weeks. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Remember, this occurs during the end. This occurs during the end. When is the end of times? When is the time of the end, or the latter days? It's during the Roman Empire, during the fourth beast. That's when the 70 weeks is going to occur. This is when all of this stuff occurs. And then this is what this is talking about. The iniquity of Jacob was purged. The sin was taken away. The stone was, the city was destroyed. The temple was destroyed. We see the same thing in the 70 weeks, as well as we see the same thing in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. Okay, so now, therefore, when the 12, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall be off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. I'm taking it, that's when they was fleeing. That's when they fled. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of land of Syria, and the outcasts of the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord and the holy mount at Jerusalem. Now, what was the holy mount at Jerusalem? This will be heavenly Jerusalem. This ain't earthly Jerusalem, because earthly Jerusalem is being destroyed right now. It's being left desolate. The temple's destroyed, the city's destroyed, the people are ravished. So this is heavenly Jerusalem. And this is why we have the great trumpets. Remember, the great trumpets were being sound in Matthew 24. We can see it in Matthew 24. Matthew 24 and 31. With the great sound of a trumpet, they shall gather. And then in Revelation, you have all the trumpets. So you sounded all of that stuff. You got all the trumpets going on in Revelation also. So those trumpets are signifying different times. So I am done with that. So where can I wrap it up at? Let's wrap it up and hold on, let's see. I guess Zechariah. Zechariah 12 and 14, and then I'm done. So Zechariah 12 and 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one is in bitterness for his firstborn. Is that Revelation 1 and 7? Behold, he come with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. Remember, these are the people in Jerusalem. This ain't the whole world. The world there, earth there should be land. So we have that right there. They're going to look on whom they have pierced. We have them mourning there because they realize that they destroyed and killed the Messiah, and now judgment is upon them because they were saying, we're not like our forefathers. We won't kill the prophets. And Christ will let them know, yeah, you're just like your forefathers. And you're going to kill my prophets. But let's go to Matthew 24 and 30 to actually see when this is supposed to occur. We know that it occurs during the latter time, and we know the latter time is the Roman Empire. So now let's just put a more specific date on when this occurred. A more specific date. All you got to do is know a little history. But anyway, let's go to Matthew 24 and 30. Come on, y'all. Y'all don't want to come loose. Matthew 24 and 30 says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So this is his coming in power with great glory. We read in Matthew 16, 27, 28, he will not come in power and great glory before all of the disciples had died. So he was going to come during their generation, which is the Roman Empire. And then Matthew 24 is actually talking about, let me show you. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives, And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came up to him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? What shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the age? Or they call it, they translated world, but it's supposed to be age. So this is during the destruction of the temple. Christ said his second return was going to be during the destruction of the temple. This is what Zechariah is talking about. That's what Revelation 1 and 7 was talking about. And then we see the great mourning that's occurring. And then to end it, we have Zechariah 14, 1 and 2. And I'm going to pull 1 or 2 and 9. 1, 2, 9, and end it in Luke. Okay. Zechariah 14 and 1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and the spoil shall he divide into the midst of thee. This is when the 2/3 and the 1/3 be divided. Y'all should remember that. 2/3 going to be destroyed, 1/3 flees or lives, or the 144,000. Anyway, behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. That means a lot of people is going to die in the city. Once you go into history, during the Roman invasion, 1,100,000, about, it's estimated 1,100,000 people died in the siege of the temple, and 97,000 went into captivity. So now, go to Luke 21, 24 once again. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which you can find in Revelations 11, 1 and 2. And then we got Zechariah 14 and 9. 8 and 9. And it shall be in that day that living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and winter shall it be, and the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall the Lord be one Lord, and that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. So during the destruction of the temple, that's when the rivers, the holy rivers of the living water is poured out, because people realize that the Messiah is now king over the whole entire earth. If you knew the scriptures and the prophecies, you would. Us today, we done lost it, so we got to get it back. But yes, and the Lord shall be king. And I got Revelation 23, 28, maybe. Ain't even the Revelation 23. It's a Revelation 22. So let me see here. Let's see what I got going on here. Revelation 22, 20. It's not a 22, 28. Revelation 20, 28, maybe. Man, y'all can't read my own handwriting, so it's something 28. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna see what I'm trying to find. It should be when the stream go out. Let's see here. Well, I know 22 and 1 does it. And he showed me a pure river of water, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of the God of the Lamb. And in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, there was a tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nation. So we have that pure river of water, or that living water, coming out while the temple is being destroyed in 70 AD. And the Lord shall be king over the entire planet. I think that's Revelation 11 and 14. Revelation 11 and 14, maybe. Revelation 11 and not 14, 15. And the seventh angel sounded, that's the seventh trumpet, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. So we got the reigning of of Christ and the Most High right there, Revelation, which occurs during the destruction of the temple, which is the fulfillment also of Daniel's 7 and 27. 7 and 27. 26 and 27. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it into the end. And the kingdom and dominion and greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. So this is when the people, the spiritual people, gets the kingdom of the Most High. But I don't think that's what I was looking for. Let me try to find something else. 7 and 14. Right here. And I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, came into the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. That's why I tell y'all that the Bible actually ends in 70 AD, which I have proved time and time again after today. Well, today, that the Bible, the latter times, the end of times, the time of the end was all about the Roman Empire, the time of the Roman Empire, because that's what all of the prophecy was to be fulfilled about the end of the time. It was supposed to be fulfilled during the Roman Empire. That's why Christ was born during the Roman Empire. That's why John the Baptist was born during the Roman Empire. That's why the 12 disciples was created to do the gospel during the Roman Empire. That's why Paul started taking it to the Gentiles during the Roman Empire. That's why the whole kingdom that's why the gospel was being spread through the Roman Empire, because everything had to occur during the Roman Empire, because the Roman Empire was the end of time. Was the time of the end, or the end of days. Sorry, it's not the end of time. There's no end of time in the Bible. It was the time of the end, time of the appointed time to end. It was the conclusion of the 70 weeks, conclusion of the feast days, conclusion of every prophecy. The new kingdom was supposed to come spiritually upon earth, and we can be citizens of it while we are in this carnal body waiting for the spiritual kingdom, just like Moses did, as well as everybody who died in faith. The Bible is not about today's time. The only thing about today's time is this: the everlasting dominion from Christ, the everlasting kingdom, and everybody on the planet serving him. That's the only thing that we're supposed to do today, spread the gospel. But everything else has been fulfilled. The whole Bible has been fulfilled, including Christ's second coming and the great white throne judgment. I have went through several scriptures to prove it today. If you are being taught other things, then you are being deceived. People are tricking you to give them money. We are supposed to be coming together, unifying, building the gospel, and showing everybody, displaying the kingdom on earth, awaiting for the heavenly kingdom once we pass on from this world. This is what we're supposed to be waiting on. We're supposed to be baptizing, bringing the gospel out, helping those that's in need, all under the foundation of Christ. We are that fruit that's going out to heal the nations. That gospel, the gospel that we bear, is the kingdom of heaven. We bear that gospel, we go out, we teach it. That's what's going on. Everything came out of the King James Version Bible. I did not pull no wool over your eyes, and that's it. We have Bible class every Monday, 7 Central Standard Time. I ask y'all to quit resisting the Holy Spirit. And also, I would like to say, if you're in the Memphis, Tennessee area, please come visit the Family of God, under the leadership of Mr. William Bell, who's also my mentor. Yes, 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 it is a church. No, 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 you don't have to feel sad about going to church on Sunday. We're not worrying about the pagan stuff no more. That's over with. Even though if it's in your soul, you don't want to do it, I say do not do it. But if you feel it in your soul to do it, please come attend. As well as any other days that's pagan. If you feel like you shouldn't do it, you still feel like you shouldn't do the dietary laws, I say please do not do it, but you cannot condemn somebody else for doing it right now because we are in a new covenant with new rules. So please, please, please act accordingly.